Greetings. My name is Alan J. Holman Sr. I am a doctoral student at Liberty University in the History Department, and today we're working with a project called American Entrepreneurship Since 1900. I'm meeting with the descendants of George Washington Franklin Sr. and Jr., and we're talking about the first African American funeral business in the city of Chattanooga. It's so glad to have the two of you with me. John, um, how should I say it? John Porter Duke Franklin Jr. and, and Cheryl Franklin Key. They are now the proprietors of the John P. Franklin Funeral Home in the city of Chattanooga. And the legacy goes all the way back to the 19th century. And I will have a few questions for them, and they will be able to share with us relating to the history and the legacy of their, not only their father, but their grandfather as well. How long have you been in the funeral business? And either of you can answer, it doesn't matter.
Individually?
Individually, and then you can talk about how it started back in the
Okay.
1800s.
Okay, you go ahead and start.
Okay, so Pastor Holman, my grandfather, G.W. Franklin, started the Franklin Funeral Home legacy in 1894.
Okay.
And it was called G.W. Franklin Funeral Home.
Undertakers.
Excuse me, G.W. Franklin Undertakers.
Okay.
That's important.
It lends itself to how old it is.
That does. They
They didn't call them funeral directors, then they call them undertakers.
That's correct.
As a matter of fact, the national organization, which Granddaddy was president of, was the National Undertakers Association.
Okay.
Which we do have a picture of at a national convention that we found that we may be able to at some point share with you.
So was it your family legacy that made you interested, or what in particular made you interested to follow the legacy of your grandfather?
Well, personally, we were always there from childhood up. So we became aware of all of the inner workings of the funeral home and paid a lot closer attention to them as we grew older. But I actually worked at a funeral home literally from age 16. But we were both around the funeral home, all of the time, because my dad, in addition to being an educator, was fully involved in the funeral business from his childhood as well.
As for me, I was not so interested in, but like we said, we were around it. We understood. We understood that. We understood what it meant to our family, of course, but also how the funeral home then was such a huge part of the community in a lot of ways that are not true anymore of funeral service. But I think that for me, I selected after I graduated from college, I decided that the nonprofit arena was where I wanted to be for a lot of reasons. And so that was pretty much my adult career, working with nonprofit organizations in various aspects, like the Urban League, a community development corporation, and so on. And so it wasn't until later that I began to really become interested in working with the funeral home, and we'll get to the timing of that later. But I did not go to mortuary school like my brother did. He went straight out of college to mortuary school. I will do that later in a very different way. But what I can say is that this is probably the most meaningful work that not that other jobs weren't meaningful, but this is really my passion now.
Okay, so you're both directors, and Duke, you are an embalmer. Is that the way it is?
That's correct. And Cheryl is also a licensed insurance agent as well.
Okay, great, great. So what services do you provide as a funeral business?
Well, full service funeral planning, which includes a variety of different types of services. So traditional funeral services with burial. We also provide cremation services. We do have a local crematory that we work with on all of our families that choose cremation. Memorial services. And shipping services. So when families experience a loss, either somewhere else and need to get back here or vice versa, we offer the shipping services and transport services for those families. In addition, pre-planning services, pre-need is a big part of our operation. I think that's pretty much covers.
We used to do some notary services.
We still do.
Still do some notary services as well for important documents that relate to the families that we serve. And primarily that's the function of that service. However, we have been, local people know that they can go to a lawyer's office or a funeral home or somewhere like that where there's more than likely going to be a person that's has a notary seal to be able to, be able to notarize personal and legal documents and stuff like that.
Okay, I noticed you said something about pre-need. What are the benefits in pre-planning a funeral?
So, and you can jump in as well, but pre-planning is probably one of the top 3 things you can do for your family. And a lot of people are squeamish about it. And I understand that. It's daunting to some people to come themselves and or to bring a parent or another family member to begin talking about pre-planning and but without any exception that I can recall, when families come in to do that, there are 2 things. Without exception, when families come in to pre-plan, they leave saying this was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. As a matter of fact, this wasn't bad at all. And I actually enjoyed talking about this, about myself, for my parent, and sometimes it'll get to be a little, there's a lot of humor involved with it. Sometimes with some families ahead of time, because it is a little more lighthearted of a conversation. And so invariably, people tell us at the end, thank you so much. We were afraid to do this and we didn't know how we were going to feel. But on the other end of it, when a family member passes away and they have done that pre-planning, it is absolutely the best gift that you can give your family. And without question, without exception, all of them say, I'm so glad that my mom did this. I'm so glad that my dad did this, because now I know I'm doing what they wanted. And this is the plan they put in place. So, it's very reassuring to families from that standpoint, as well as from a business standpoint, a family business standpoint, to do that. And we talk about more ways to the pandemic interrupted everything just about, but that ironically was also a time that we increased the demand for us to go through those processes with families increased. I guess because mortality seemed, it just felt differently then, you know, with so much going on in the country regarding the pandemic, so many deaths, and the uncertainty rather of your financial future, you know, your family's future, your future of your health. I mean, there were a lot of things that I think played into that, which was quite interesting for us. But that was a major part of our activity during the early years of the pandemic. I know we're still in it, but you know, the years 2020 to 2022 was really interesting how people began to process their thoughts, and it resulted in them really seeking out, you know, this process.
And generally speaking, when we have funeral services now, there's always somebody, at least one person, who comes up and says, you know, I need to make an appointment to do a pre-arrangement. And so we're set up by appointments to honor their requests, and at a time that's convenient for them and of course of us as well. So it works out in a way that that it's on their own volition that they schedule, and so it's like they see the value in doing a pre-arrangement without you having to necessarily sell it to them, because of what they have experienced either through another family member or somebody they know. And we've actually been doing pre-arrangements since it goes way back to like I think I was initially licensed in 1988. And so we've been doing pre-arrangements ever since. As a matter of fact, we were probably the first African American firm at that time to do pre-arrangements. And so we got licensed to do that. We've been doing them ever since.
Okay, so how do you personalize your services, let's say, different from all the other funeral homes? What makes you stand out from all the rest?
Go ahead.
You know, I think it for us, it's important to it's important to focus on that family that you're working with at that time. Every family has a different story. And so what we absolutely love is that when our families share those stories with us, because that gives us the opportunity to acknowledge certain aspects of a person's life that they talk about. So that's one of the things that we talk about in our conferences. You know, we get to know that person if we don't already, but families know them better than we do. So for instance, you know, we had an opportunity to with one of our families, and you know, this is something that was unique to them and something that they wanted to bring forward. So this particular person, the father passed away, and he had a almost an obsession with a particular antique car. And so because they shared that with us, we were able to create something very personal for them around the theme of that car. And we've had musicians who pass away. Their families allow us to do certain things that are special regarding acknowledging their career as a musician. And so that it's really not about, or we look at it more in terms of that particular family and what we can do to create an experience for them, or help them create an experience. Really is helping them that is meaningful for that particular individual. So that's one thing that we try to focus on as much as we can.
And the congregations who who assemble for that service recognize those things that were peculiar to that particular family, and they get an experience from knowing those particular things about their family or something that was peculiar to them. And so that experience is spread through not only to their family, but to everybody who knew them.
Right, right. And then the other thing is carefully developing the team that is around us. Meaning we want like-minded people who are as passionate about this work as we are, because they are extensions of us, and we have a team of people around each family. Sometimes 4 or 5 people are working with that family in various aspects of their process for making arrangements. Usually it is 4 or 5 people who are responsible for different aspects. But what our families tell us is that they feel completely enveloped by our firm from the beginning to the end and beyond. And that's what we strive to do every single time. We talk to our staff all the time, family by family. We have to give and want to give each family the benefit of that feeling of being enveloped and cared for. The thing that we want people to walk away saying or feeling is that they were cared for by everyone who touched them, from the time their loved one passed away to the time the funeral is over. And then there are other things that have to be done even after that we still participate with our families. So, that's one thing we're really proud of, and that's what our families share with us. And there could be no better compliment than that.
That explains how you've been in business for so long.
Mm.
That personal touch. So how do you keep up with the latest trends and the innovations in the funeral industry?
Well, we have a few that are constant, and of course, the internet provides us with a lot of things that pop up on our phones or our computers or whatever. But we are members. We are members of the National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association and the National Funeral Directors Association. They, to some degree, are segregated still, or their memberships, but they cross over quite a bit. We're members of both of them and a lot of other firms. So there's nothing that those organizations are different, but except for NFDA being a larger group because it's the majority communities association. But we attend both.
Yeah.
Cheryl goes to one, and I go to another, and we switch up on different things. We also attend professional seminars through some of our vendors, some of the casket company vendors who also do they do training for funeral directors at the conventions. Sometimes they come to your firm and do them, and that enables us to keep up with trends, whether it be equipment, whether it be supplies, whether it be techniques for embalming. And Cheryl and I have actually attended a couple of those together, and it had some, it was really interesting, even for me who I've seen or not. But the old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, where there are always new tricks out there, and it's just good to see. It's good to see as African Americans. It's good to see how professional these individuals who come from who represent these companies, who provide goods and services for us.
The other thing is we're up in age, as they say. Both of us are in our 60s. And so, we also depend on our younger staff members because they get around in different circles and hear different things amongst their peers. And so we've learned to really pay attention And that's one thing that's discussed too in our national conventions. Continuing education is the primary reason that I go to the conventions, because I'm still having to fulfill those requirements. Duke is grandfathered in and doesn't have to get the continuing ed. Again, they're talking about this next generation, you know, and what their expectations are, because as those folk are moving into the time, moving into the prospect of having to make funeral arrangements for their parents, you know, they have a different mindset sometimes. So the younger generation does, and so it, you know, that is particularly challenging. But we believe that the answer is to constantly listen to the young folk and to reach out specifically to them, to that population. You know, we've one of the things that we've done that has been significant really is when we developed, we hired someone to develop a social media presence for us. And it has really been wildly popular. I mean, I'm not on Facebook myself at all. I'm still not myself, but it is amazing to me how people respond to that and how people are plugged into it. So, you know, just those kinds of things are important to keep up with, you know, to at least, you know, be current with a lot of things that are going on in the ways that things get done these days.
That's amazing. You do have a very interesting website. I visit it all the time, and in fact, I participate with it.
Oh, thank you.
Being a pastor, and I appreciate all that you do as it relates to that. And that brings me to my next question. When we would say, what would you advise an apprentice desiring to become a licensed director and embalmer?
Well, I think there has to be a genuine interest, not just for what you see on the surface, but some underlying passion for the business. And what we talk to a lot of people who come in interested in being employed, and we try to encourage them in the right way. But first of all, you have to have some kind of formal. If you're going to be a director or an embalmer, you have to have some formal education, either through a mortuary school or something like that. But there are individuals who haven't had that training at all, but just have a personality or something like that, and understand some things about the business. So we try to encourage them in the right way, and give them an opportunity if that's their desire. But if you're going to make a career of, you need to have a formal education, high school education, and then attend a mortuary school, or you may be involved in the administrative part of it in some capacity that relates to the funeral industry, and eventually get into that by as you move forward in your growth in that particular funeral home, which we do have. We do have a couple of individuals who have started out in an administrative role or management role, and after that desire to pursue a funeral director's license. So there's more than, there are 2 or 3 or 4 many ways to get involved, and it may just not actually be as a funeral director initially.
I would encourage people to, and I don't know exactly what it feels like in other communities because we don't operate within those communities, meaning outside of Chattanooga. But one thing that I hear at conventions when talking to young folk is the difficulty they face with finding employment, particularly with African American firms. And I understand what they mean. A lot of us are small, a lot of us are single location, or there's just not a lot of opportunity at that point in their career where they're starting out, because most funeral homes, you know, we kind of need a level of expertise coming in. But as far as apprenticeships are concerned, you know, be willing to go anywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, as long as you get that experience. And then once you come out, if you're not already connected to a firm, be willing to, you know, you have to be willing to be flexible about where you start. It doesn't mean you can't get back to the community that you want to ultimately be in, and ultimately maybe you want to go into business for yourself, but you got to get the best possible exposure that you can prior to, because that builds your skill set, but it also builds your resume. It builds your credentials. So, you know, I would just say be very flexible with, you know, don't just consider your own hometown as the only market that you can operate in, because, you know, that's not true. And in a lot of cases you can do things, even, you know, Chattanooga is still pretty segregated as far as the funeral, and you know that, as far as the funeral industry. But there are other communities that are not so, especially in the Midwest, the North, West. That, you know, in some places it's just really, it's not a thing, but it still is here. So I say be willing to get some experience somewhere else, just like I would tell my own children, you know, go somewhere else, get some experience. Then you've got something to come back with. You've got some skills that you know you bring to the table.
Okay, awesome. I know the funeral business is a 24/7 business. How do you balance your professional life and your personal life?
Not so good.
I know that's a challenging question.
It is, and for the reason that you say, I mean, it's. I'm gonna tell you how difficult it is for us. So, just after maybe 4 or 5 months into the pandemic, we decided, okay, we need one day, every day. I mean, the same day every week, to be able to be off completely. And really needs to be 2 or 3 now, but you know, that's how intentional we have to be about having some downtime. It is 24-hour. It is a 24-hour business, and also learning to delegate better. You know, and
be comfortable doing
be comfortable doing that, and that has to do with staff development. And we have just been so fortunate. We have folk who are ready and have been ready to take on additional responsibility that doesn't necessarily require a license, but give them some buy-in and ownership of the processes that they participate in. So, you know, but it's not easy, and I don't think there's anybody that will tell you that it is anywhere in this country. It is just not. And that's one of the things that we talk a lot about at the conventions, about self-care for the funeral professional, because it's very unique in a lot of ways to most other careers in that regard. So, or can be. So we're learning to do better. Hopefully we got a little time left, a little runway left to to enjoy. Yeah.
But we've been blessed and stuff, and sometimes it winds up being not the day that we've chosen, because
Every now and then, yeah.
because we have to come in to handle something. But we're still finding, up to this point, we're still finding a day. It may not be that particular day, but it may be the day after.
But we've been pretty consistent.
Yeah, we've been
in the last couple of years. The other, I was gonna say, the other thing is, the other demand on the job is the reason you're in business in the first place. When you live in a place like Chattanooga, you have their families that expect to see you. And by that I mean me or Duke. You know, it's not it's not disrespectful to our other staff members. Just those relationships have developed to where, you know, and we're helping trying really hard to make our families comfortable with everybody here so that they know, okay, this person is going to assist in this way. This person's responsibility is this, and we're slowly getting there to where I just got a note from somebody, I tell you, who insisted on talking to me every single time about everything. And I appreciate that, because I appreciate that trust, and that means a lot. But one day I simply could not assist her. I could not assist her, and she was doing some actual pre-planning. And so I convinced her to work with one of our staff people. And it was quicker than trying to wait on me. You know, it was more efficient than trying to wait on me. And she wrote me the most lovely thank you note and expressed just that. I know, basically, she said, I know that, you know, you know, she said, I didn't mean to bug you, you know, but I just blah, blah, blah. She said, but I cannot tell you how much so-and-so helped me. And now I realize you have people who can assist in other ways. So that's sort of a thing that you know, with any funeral home. I know, you know, we have a great relationship with our colleagues at Taylor Funeral Home, and we talk about some of the same things sometimes, you know, about in general, and so, you know, it's really helping people to understand that your organization is structured in such a way that there are people who can assist with certain things that you won't even, you know, you won't miss a beat. You will trying to wait on me, but you won't miss a beat with
and there won't be inconvenience.
Right.
And it's good that to the extent that you can achieve that, then it spreads the trust,
right,
past Cheryl and myself,
right,
to others, and to the extent that now some of them call them specifically for specific things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's good, and that allows not just Cheryl and I, but that allows them to have some additional time and space to do things too, because just like we have a day, they have a day or two as well, maybe a little bit more than we do, of course, but that builds their confidence, and it also our employees' confidence, but it also builds the confidence that the community has in us as a whole, and not just Cheryl and myself.
So you pretty much answered the next question. It was how do you handle difficult situations and complaints? And you pretty much answered that with those statements.
Well, you know, we had an opportunity this morning to talk with a reporter from the Times Free Press, and Duke brought up an excellent point. You know, when it comes to complaints and difficult situations, even not just from the standpoint of family, but there's internal sometimes, you know, there are disagreements or whatever. And he just had the best response to that. And it's really about putting, how did you say it? Putting the goals and objectives of the business and what we're in business to do first. Okay. And so you used a big word. What was the big word you used this morning? I can't remember what it was. But
I said it transcends the sovereignty of whatever situation, you know, whatever situation it is. And the lady said, "Oh, how can I use that? Can I use that one?" But
it's true. I mean, it's you know, you put your objective and why you're here in the first place above everything else, and everybody can line up around that. Yeah. Every family can line up around that. Every staff person can line up, and we may differ in opinions, but to keep that first is, I think, what he said was just, you know, that's the bottom line, because we're all here to serve the folk who entrust us to assist them. So, you know, that's a common goal that we all participate in with the same goal in mind.
And we can't corral the fact that we have all of the sense and we got all of the information. Mm-hmm. And so once you get past that, everybody has something to contribute toward the main objective, and that's satisfying the families and creating an experience for them under duress that gets them further in the process. because after they leave us, that experience is going to help them in in processing the loss of their loved one, which is a daily thing.
Okay, a couple more questions and I'll let you go because I know you're very busy.
Yeah, Chill hadn't eaten all day today. So.
Yeah, that's
Popcorn.
that's imbalance. That's imbalance.
Now I've got a guilty conscience.
No.
We've
Do you
been
have-
working on this, so we feel guilty for not having done this before now, but go ahead.
This is fine. This is fine. Do you have a particular mission statement or motto?
Yep, my dad, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you do.
Courteous,
compassionate.
compassionate.
Mhm. And wait a minute, let me read it. We should know that by heart. It's on the fan, dude. We haven't said it in a long time.
I get it.
Yeah, he'll go get it. Sorry, now that's a trip up. We should be able to
Well,
whip that out.
For the,
But it was 3 words that he,
okay. Well, for the
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
the radio station WNOO have an advertisement with your dad saying it at the end of it.
Yes, that's it. And I don't know why we're drawing a blank right now, but that's the other thing that we're excited about. Those 3 words mean a lot and mean different things to different people. So our code of ethics that we are going to be developing and with our staff centers around those principles.
Courteous,
Yeah,
dignified, courteous, and
compassionate.
compassionate.
Okay.
I couldn't think of it, but my dad came up. That was his. He did that in 2008.
Mhm.
He did that, or maybe 2007.
Dignified, courteous.
Dignified, courteous, and compassionate.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty
And
simple.
those are principles that really encompass and guide your work. That guides your work. If you're meeting those,
That really covers. That really encapsulates what we think and what we aspire to be on a daily basis.
You had mentioned that you're in your 60s. So how do you propose the business to carry on if your family descendants choose not to do so?
well, those are conversations that we're involved with right now. So we do have children, and I'm an example of a latecomer. I did not get involved with the funeral business until I was in my mid-40s. So, but all of our children are in professionals in their own fields. We have an engineer, we have a communication specialist, we have a retail manager, and we have one that's about to become a physical therapist. And so they each are following their own dreams, but they've also expressed, all of them, a level of interest.
And to some degree have witnessed and or participated in a few isolated scenarios. Now, Callan and Chandler have actually done some summer work on occasions, when they weren't in school. But it's and also.
And Jacaylee, she's been to mortuary school. She hasn't finished it yet. She, again, her passion is retail, so she wanted to. So you kind of let them do and then the benefit of that. And I was talking to a colleague about this, is that they're bringing back their own skill set, their own respective skill set that they would not have attained had they not followed their own dreams. So,
and that's important for them to realize some of those successes and what their choices for employment and careers are. And each one of them has something a little bit different, but offers some expertise in an area that would be needed here at the funeral home.
Exactly.
if they chose to choose to do that.
So, we haven't, the story's still being written in that regard.
And one other footnote, and Cheryl and I have had a conversation too about that, is that we have some a couple of licensed professionals who have been around the funeral industry all of their lives and could at some point take on a larger role in management of some other things, like to help, perpetuate the funeral home, who are at least 20 years, 15, 20 years younger than us
Yeah.
as well.
But we expect to be involved in funeral services until our last breath, some way, shape, or form. And I say that, I tell people, like my dad used to say, I'm gonna die in this funeral home. But we mean that in the most complimentary way. It's not begrudging. It's this is what we are. This is who we are. And I can't imagine that we're not involved. But we'll see. We'll see.
But we're not just gonna sit down and go home. I guess our passion has gotten to a point now where if we really enjoy the mission of what Dad has perpetuated for us to carry forward, and nothing but probably major health issues would probably keep us from that. But the Lord has blessed us to be in reasonable health, and that's saying a lot. And so we really want to do to continue to do our life's work through this funeral home, and we believe that God has ordained this to be, and it's his mission that we are putting forward.
Well, as I prepare to ask this last question, it is understood that the African American funeral homes in Chattanooga have a great working relationship, not as rivals. However, being a business, how do you establish yourself as being different from the others? And I don't look at y'all as rivals. I've lived in 13 states, and I've worked side by side being a pastor with funeral homes all over. And I've never seen the camaraderie that you have here in Chattanooga. I commend you.
Well, thank you.
And I want the people in the public to know that. And people have a choice. The citizens of our city have a choice. And neither one of your funeral businesses get upset. In fact, there are times that you assist one another in that business perspective. And I really appreciate that. So finally, this last question is, African American funeral homes established in Chattanooga that did not survive, without calling names, can you tell what may have led to their demise?
I think that one thing that they probably did not have individuals to really perpetuate their longevity over time. That's one thing. That's one thing. It may there may not have been another thing. There may not have been a segment of the market that they were able to achieve over the years that would have perpetuated them over time.
Yeah, and I don't know, some of them made decisions not to continue.
Yeah.
Or to sell their firms, or to, and every individual, every firm, I'm sure, that I know of in my time. I can't speak about the other ones, but in my time, I've seen people actually make the decision to do something different because on purpose. That was what they decided to do. So it wasn't necessarily a negative thing. It wasn't that anybody got shut down or anybody, lost their license or anything like that I know of. It's just a decision that was made based on their own plans for succession, or, that I think, that's the good thing about what I saw happening in my time, is that people were making decisions that they were ready to exit the market, ready to retire completely, and so I just don't know if there were necessarily bad reasons for that. I think a lot of them were intentional.
And if you look across the country, Rem Holman, and you've probably have experienced that. Let's just take a city like New York. There are probably 50 mom and pop funeral homes, storefront funeral homes in that city, in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., and other places like that. And they've managed to keep their doors open and handle a segment of the community, over 50, 60, 70 years, some of them. And I got a call today from a friend of mine, Fred brother, who I hadn't heard from in a long time, but his former partner was friends with Daddy over the years as professional friend, and in DC. And so they're still in business. So if you really have a passion and really want to do that, then you could probably do it for regardless of how large you become or how small, you can still operate with a license and depending upon your facilities and all that, you can still operate a business for a long time and just and maintain certain aspects to that. So it just it's just a matter of the circumstances in your locale and what you're physically able to do.
Well, again, I really appreciate you taking out this time, your personal time, your professional time to do this interview. You're amazing. You're getting ready to celebrate so much 130 years in the funeral business of your
You're
grandfather.
keeping up with it, huh?
Yes, sir. You said it. Yes, and I'm interviewing all of those persons that are involved in the history in Chattanooga of African American funeral businesses. And I really want to commend you. You are the, should I say, patriarchs or matriarchs of the funeral business in Chattanooga. So God bless you and may heaven smile upon you. I wish you much success from here on out.
Well, thank you so much. We stand on the shoulders of those, we cannot begin to fill the shoes of our predecessors. But we're doing our best to carry on their legacies. And so we're very, very, very we're very clear about that. We don't, but for our predecessors, but for our family members, we would not be doing what we're doing today. And that literally we would not be.
Yeah,
we would not be had they not taken the passion and dedicated their lives to this industry. So we're just very fortunate and won't take any credit for it ourselves. We're just trying to carry on.
Okay, thank you so much. We have been interviewing John. Well, let me do it right. John Porter Duke Franklin Jr. and Cheryl Franklin Key. We thank you so much, and may God bless your ministry.
Same to you,
Same
Pastor.
to you,
Thank
Pastor
you so
Holman.
much, and thank you for your patience.
We're really humbled that you've done this and that you've been you stuck to it. And I know it's a class, but we know that's a passion of yours as well, and we thank you.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate it. We appreciate our relationship that we have with you personally.
Thank you so much. Good.